I'm pleased to join you to present Driving Growth and Efficiency with Automation in the Work from Home Era. My name is Alex Ortiz. I'm the VP of Marketing at Tray.io. A little background on me. I have 20 years of experience in SaaS businesses, leading marketing teams. Came from Salesforce and had the great pleasure of working with Tricia Gelman, the CMO of Drift. Good to be back with you, Tricia. And Tray.io is a general automation platform that helps revenue teams integrate their software stack and automate their processes. And today I wanted to share with you what we're seeing in the market. Obviously, with COVID and a global pandemic, we have all changed our playbooks. We are also, like you, adjusting to the work from home era, and we still have our goals. We still have our revenue goals, our lead goals, and MQL goals. And we're lucky enough to work with a lot of innovative marketers. Drift, for example, is a customer, as is some of the other presenters today, like Demandbase and Outreach. And so we're in constant contact with our customers, as I'm sure you are in contact with yours. And we're trading tips and tricks on how to adjust our playbooks to the events that we're all facing today. And so what I hope to do today is share with you some concepts on how to survive and thrive in a challenging time. And also want to share with you tangible ideas and inspiration, things that you could take home and act upon. Because again, we all have lead funnels to fill, we have SQO goals to fulfill, and obviously revenue targets as well. So I'm excited to share with you a few ideas, and you're always welcome to contact me after the session if you want to chat more. So for today's topics, I want to break it into three sections. One is to really describe the situation at hand. Obviously, we're all asked to do more with less in this environment. And then the question becomes, well, how do you go about doing that, Alex? And what I would share with you is tales from the front line, what we see companies do with automation, what's possible. And then finally, I'll give you a few ideas. We have 3 use cases I'll share, and then also 3 quick case studies that I'll highlight as well, all from marketers like you. So with that, why don't we jump in and start going a little bit deeper. So what's this environment that we now find ourselves in? In February, I don't think any of us would have been talking about work from home, but here we are. And as a marketing leader at Tray, I can tell you that budgets are definitely getting tightened, both in terms of ad spend, program spend, tool spend, basically every spend item. We're looking for ways to drive efficiency. And right now, I can tell you my CFO and CEO are not really thrilled if I go up and ask them for a big new budget item that we haven't talked about. And so right now, the mantra within Tray, and I think other companies as well, is use the tools you have and use and maximize the value of what you already own today. And then finally, kind of from the board, from the leadership team, we're all trying to do more with less. And it's not just the marketing team, it's the sales team, customer success, product, and engineering. So efficiency is the key word of the day. And I think it'll probably last, I'm no prognosticator, but I think it'll last some time, a couple quarters, if not 4 quarters. So this is our new reality. It's time to adjust to it. Specifically in marketing, we see some other challenges that we face, and other marketers are facing this as well. Obviously, field events, trade shows, in-person events are no longer viable options, at least for the short term. And so we're happy that companies like Drift and others are putting together virtual conferences so we can still share ideas and best practices with each other. And I think that's kind of going to be an interesting place for a lot of marketers to adjust to and to optimize. Clearly there's question marks on the economy. Some might say we're already in a recession. Some might say we're headed towards one. What we know today is that it's imbalanced. There's certain industries that are decimated because of a global pandemic, and we know which ones. It's travel, it's retail, and large portions of the service economy. So our hearts go out to our friends dealing with those really difficult challenges, but it also makes it difficult for anyone marketing and selling software or pretty much anything else. Clearly, as we already stated, resources are tighter than ever. But honestly, it's a challenge. But I would tell you, average marketers can do well in a up market, but great marketers can really separate themselves in a down market. That's, I think, really forces a lot of critical thinking and tough choices. And definitely it's choices that sometimes we don't like to face, but the best marketers will come out ahead for having made them. So again, it's a new challenge, but I do like that the fact that it does drive critical thinking, good discussions, and if you have a solid business and a solid team, you really can pull ahead in this environment. I reflect back at my time in the last recession at Salesforce, and what I'd say Salesforce did so well was shift around resources. So for example, I got moved into a new team to respond to the recession. It was the leaky bucket brigade to make sure that we didn't experience excessive churn. And that was a great group to be a part of. And we worked on it for about a year. After that, things started to settle out and we went back into growth mode. So there's certain companies that know how to handle this well. And certainly that was instructive for me in 2008. Of course, our new challenges is how the heck are we going to hit those lead, SQO, and revenue goals, doing more with less? What I can tell you is, yes, it's still possible. It just gets a little bit tougher. Now, before COVID struck, and for about the last 10 years, we've all been buying and using more SaaS tools. In marketing, we happen to be using the most SaaS tools out there of any department. And this data that you see on the screen comes from Kleiner Perkins, their Internet Trends report from a few years ago. And what I could say is it's probably accelerated even more since then. So this is not new information for most. At Trey, we might have somewhere around 60 different SaaS tools in our revenue stack. There's tools that we really love. There's tools like newer tools that we just bought, like Gong.io, which we get a lot of value from. Tools like Outreach.io, which we've been using now for many years. And what I can say is each tool has added value to marketing and sales, but it has also created a new challenge for us, as we all can readily admit, and that is the challenge of integrating them. Now, some of these tools do a better job of native integrations than others, but if you're like me, and any marketer for that matter, you've probably really struggled with doing things like lead management. There's a lot of downloading of lead data and spreadsheets, a lot of uploading, a lot of formatting, a lot of gymnastics that you have to do to move data from tool to tool. And I could tell you that was one motivating reason for me to join Trey.io, because I just got tired of doing that. I felt like it was monkey work, and it was really holding my marketing team back from really working better, from smarter and more efficiently. So if you look at your revenue stack, it might look like spaghetti because you have so many tools. And if you're not able to integrate and automate them, you're also facing some serious business impact. I've been here before at other companies, and I could say, for example, when I couldn't figure out what my AdWords spend was doing to my close win rate, I was really worried about my ROI, and I have suspicion that my marketing performance was not so great. We know that sales effectiveness can really be impacted if sales reps are forced to look into many different tools to find the information they need on their prospects. We know that if customers have a disjointed journey or experience, and that's oftentimes the cause of disconnected systems, customer satisfaction can be negatively impacted. And then finally, on the employee side, if your employees are doing monkey work like spreadsheets, uploads, and trying to integrate stuff manually, that causes a lot of dissatisfaction. And if you're thinking about employee retention, empowering people with tools that can automate the mundane and the boring parts of their job are gonna make for employees that are more engaged and more productive for the business. So clearly, we love SaaS apps, but there's so many today that we're choking on them, and it has caused quite a bit of business impact. Now, there is hope out there, and this hope comes from Aberdeen Group. It's a technology analyst group. And what Aberdeen does is they try to figure out what sort of organizations are performing well and what are the reasons for some of their high performance. And so in this study, they surveyed a wide cross-section of businesses, and they also asked their performance, whether it was revenue growth or a few other factors. And what they did is ask a battery of questions, and then of course are testing to see what separates best-in-class companies, or the ones that are at the 20 percentile, best performing, versus the rest. And this is something intriguing. So they found that companies that were doing exceptionally well had something in common, and that was a strongly integrated system of complementary solutions. So this is pretty fascinating, right? We just saw that we all use a lot of SaaS tools, but the ones that are pulling ahead have been able to integrate them and make sure that they're working well together. So this gives us a light to think about, especially now in this environment that we need to just be more efficient as marketers and salespeople. So integration is great, but it's two sides of the same coin. And I would say the other side of the coin is called automation. And I had the chance to catch up with an old friend of mine, Matthew Sweezy. He's a marketing thought leader over at Salesforce. And we caught up a couple of years ago, and we did a webinar together. And he introduced this really interesting concept called Automation 2.0. He's been a marketer for a long time, as have I. And we recall, that way back when marketing automation platforms came out, like Eloqua and Marketo, that it was great. It automated some aspects of marketing, basically the website to email marketing connection. And those tools were great. But the world really has changed, and there's a new concept of automation that we should really start thinking about. In Automation 2.0, it's a very simple but important idea, and that is one where, if Automation 1.0 was using a marketing automation platform or Salesforce automation platform, and the automation was basically all kept within one SaaS application, well, certainly that drives some productivity. But we would argue that that's all self-contained automation within those tools. What we see now is this opportunity to orchestrate automation across an ecosystem of tools that are being used at companies. And that ecosystem could mean just the marketing ecosystem. It could mean the marketing and sales ecosystem, or broadly, the entire company. And so Automation 2.0 is an important concept to think about, because where we see leads slip through the crack is not within one tool, but when we have to go across tools and across teams. And in fact, some might say that it's not just applications that are siloed, but that application silo is causing team silos. And when I think about how to drive performance, it's also about how do you foster an environment of teamwork across departments. And so this concept of Automation 2.0, yes, it applies to technology, but it also applies to people and organizations. So hopefully that'll spark some ideas for you, some big picture thinking. And, I also want to share some tangible use cases, some ideas from the front lines. So we've gathered together, 6 different use cases here and a few more from the innovative customers that we get to talk to and work with. These are folks that are really, I'd say, pushing the envelope on what is possible with automation. And then we've also contributed a few of our own internal automations. As you can imagine, we think about this stuff every day and love talking about it and love sharing what we are learning. So let's get started. So just to give you a broad overview of Automation 2.0 for revenue folks, here's just a highlight reel of some of the things we've seen in our customer base of thousands of companies. On the demand gen side, we've seen people automate top of the funnel, especially around paid programs and SEO programs and generating one report that tracks performance across all the multiple channels, whether it's AdWords, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you might be spending. You can now integrate and aggregate that data for one central dashboard. We've seen companies really deliver on the promise of personalized email using customer data platforms like Segment mixed in with marketing automation tools and really driving the personalization that we've all wanted to do for quite some time. And obviously orchestrating messages across chat and across email and across the website and really making sure you're delivering a unified customer experience. In the web marketing side, we've seen companies really automate what I call the lead capture to revenue process. We've seen companies use automation to alert account executives when target accounts are on their website. That's obviously important for speed of response and engaging, making sure leads are getting to the right owners. There's also a question about like, hey, we love chat, but we only want to show it to target accounts, and that's great. And we've seen automations that can do that. On the event side, we're seeing obviously a shift towards virtual events, but some of the same processes apply. Lead list ingestion is an important one. So you can read the slide. There's lots of ideas here. I'd say operations professionals are particularly innovative in how they use automation platforms. So let's move on. I want to give you 3 examples here. First, we'll start with what companies are doing to automate portions of their chat workflow. We love chat. We use it extensively. One of the challenges is, when someone chats with you, they might only leave their email address. And you don't actually know who you're dealing with. We've seen plenty of customers go and automate the enrichment of those chats so they can then send it on to their marketing automation platform and their CRM tool and make sure that they have more robust information to know which leads deserve follow-up. And what this might look like, I'll just give you a couple example workflows. It's pretty simple, guys. Like if you happen to use Drift, great. You can trigger it from webhooks or from a manual trigger or a batch trigger. Usually we do webhooks because it's continuous. And we just look through every time we get a lead, we check, hey, does this lead exist in the database? It doesn't. Okay, let's go enrich it with one of our enrichment vendors and make sure it gets updated in our marketing automation platform. So it's actually pretty simple to set up, and it yields a lot of value from all those chat leads that are engaging with you. Let me give you a couple more chat automation ideas. Oftentimes you have sales development reps who are manning your chat tool. You might use bots or a mixture of two, but whenever your SDRs shift in and shift out, whether it's time of day or people going on vacation, you have to make sure that you manage that well to make sure that every lead gets followed up on. And so we've seen customers automate the alerting of SDRs that they have a new queue in Drift or one of the other chat tools. We've seen customers connect their chat capture with an outbound SDR emailing tool to make sure that that is automated. So again, you're ensuring fast follow-up and customized follow-up. We've seen other customers really do something smart, and that is, sometimes you capture a lead, but they don't leave their email. and you don't know who they are, but they actually already exist in our database. And so there's other tools you could bring to bear here, like Segment, to ID anonymous leads to match them back to their customer profile. And then finally, spam is not only in the email channel, but we can all get what we call chat spam. You can automate the removal of that, so your SDR team is not dealing with spam in responses. So there's a lot that can be done. I just want to give you a couple more ideas to chew on. The next use case, number 2 here in this list, is webinars. Here we are, we're working from home, we do webinars a lot, and that was true pre and post COVID. But one of the things that I was always frustrated with in webinars was you usually do a Q&A session, and there's sometimes great questions by a multitude of prospects, but your reps never hear about it because the reps don't work in your webinar software. And so one automation that we've put in place at Tray is to pull those webinar Q&A questions with the person that asked them, move that data over into our CRM, and then flag the AE that corresponds to that lead in the account with the actual question that they asked. So it gives your AEs a really good real-time way to follow up and know the context of how to engage with those leads and prospects. So a really simple one to set up. I'll share just a quick example for you. And again, we just set up a callable trigger and then say, hey, listen, pull the QA questions out of Zoom, which is one of the softwares that we use. We have to do some formatting on the dates because obviously the dates in Zoom don't match up to the dates structure in Salesforce. So we do a little bit of that, and we loop through that list, get it into Salesforce, and figure out who's the AE, and then link that to Slack and Slack the AE in real time, the question that was asked with the information on the lead. So pretty sweet. This really cuts out a lot of manual labor. Our folks that manage our webinar programs love it. It's a set it and forget it type of workflow. All right, let's see. Let's go next up. So the third, actually, let me give you a couple more webinar automation ideas. We find that some of our prospects attend multiple webinars before they want to engage. And so we have a lead scoring rule that says if they've come in 3 times to webinars and have attended and watched a majority of that webinar, we're going to score it in a way so SDRs know to follow up with it. We also monitor overall usage of tools. Just like many, we buy tools and not everyone that has a license actually uses them. And this is a way for us to set up an audit to make sure that we don't have unused licenses. And this is a quick way to bring down your SaaS bills if you don't have all the people in your team actually using the software that they're entitled to. And then, of course, the challenge with webinar or chat or any of your engagement tools is making sure that those leads and that information get to your other tools. And so with an integration platform, you're able to move those leads really to any other tool and do it quite easily. So as I mentioned in the front, we use a tool called gong.io. It's a revenue intelligence tool. Some people call it a digital note taker that's attached to Zoom. So when AEs are talking with prospects, it's taking notes, which are great for the company to understand how is that going? How's the sales process, and is the prospect getting good value from those conversations? You can also look for keywords in those conversations, and one of those keywords that we look for a lot is competitor mentions. Now, it's not only the competitor's name that gets mentioned, but there's certain keywords that we know correspond to players. So, for example, we compete with MuleSoft, and we know there's certain words that are very much MuleSoft words. And what we do here is we listen for those mentions. We tally, of course, to see which competitors are in our deal. It helps us prioritize our sales enablement and competitive intelligence or competitive resources. But more importantly for us, we like to alert leadership when we see players in our big deals. And so this is a really, I'd say, ingenious way to automate the intelligence and the detection of, hey, who are you competing with and how do you prioritize resources to compete more effectively? So pretty fun one. This is just, again, an example workflow. You might use Gong, you might use a different tool. That's fine. What I want you to walk away with is seeing that, like, in a couple steps, you can actually build this stuff yourself. It doesn't take, you don't have to be a computer science guy or gal, but this is stuff that can drive value with the tools that you use today. A couple more ideas here. You can instantly share CI collateral if you detect a mention of a competitor and share it in Slack or Microsoft Teams. You can monitor daily call activity and make sure your team is engaged and active. And of course, you can send that data to other tools as you need. So I'm going to just hit quickly 3 more case studies from some of our customers in marketing. We've got FICO here. Obviously, it's a credit reporting agency, and they were challenged with low engagement rates on their emails. And the short of the story is they decided to centralize their customer database in a cloud data warehouse. And that helped to aggregate all the stats around the activity of each lead. And then they could go execute email and really improve deliverability. They were able to clean out old leads, unsubscribed leads, and other things that will muck up your rates. And they were really able to drive up their click-through rate, their open rate, and deliverability substantially. One of our customers, AdRoll, they had a different challenge, and that is a challenge of enriching leads when they had an unstandard deployment of Salesforce. Many of us have used Salesforce and have customized fields and objects, and anytime you do that, your other tools have a tough time integrating to it. And most enrichment vendors, while good, they cannot accommodate custom fields and integrating to custom fields. And so this is where a purpose-built tool comes in place, which would allow you to enrich your data no matter where it sits, no matter what custom object or custom record, and with the end result of boosting your enrichment, lead scoring, and routing to increase the number of meetings like AdRoll saw. And our last customer case study was from Outreach. And what I'd say is, while Dan Amati started to automate processes in demand gen, he was promoted to be the director of business operations across Outreach. And he was able to integrate upwards of 100 tools there, not only in marketing, but customer success, and even the IT team got involved as well. And it was a real time saver. He estimated at least 20 hours a week were eliminated from mundane and boring stuff that used to be done manually. So again, this is a good example of how Dan was able to do more with less, even in an environment where Outreach is a high growth company and a unicorn at that. But nonetheless, it's always a good time to drive productivity. So if you want any more ideas or inspiration, head on over to the Trade.io website. There's a lot of content on there on our blog and our customer section. So please, contact me as well through LinkedIn. I love talking about this stuff, and good luck with your marketing. Thanks so much.